So if you've made it to Act 3 in Knight Silksong, first of all, congratulations. That's not easy to do. This game is very difficult. And getting to Act 3 can be quite challenging. However, Act 3 itself is going to be a whole lot more challenging, unfortunately. If you haven't yet managed to reach Act 3 yet, and you're still wondering how you can actually get to this point, I do have a video where I covered how to get to Act 3. I'll leave that in the description below. You can click on that if you want to figure out how to get to this point. So if you haven't already done that, make sure you watch that video before we go through this video. All right, now that we've got that out of the way, let's continue. In today's video, let me try and make it a little bit easier for you and discuss what you need to do, how you can do this as quickly as possible, and how you can get through Act 3. I'll include two steps. There's going to be two endings to Act 3. There's going to be the secret or true ending, and there's going to be like a secret ending plus, so to speak, where you're going to be able to do an extra step, which is going to give you a very interesting addition to the ending, which I think you might want to get because it is going to be, I guess, interesting for what might be to come in the future. That's all I'm going to say. If you want to find out more about that cutscene, I'm going to put it right at the end of the video. Obviously, spoiler warning. But first of all, let's discuss the steps and how you can actually get there, because there's a lot of things you're going to do. So the first thing you're going to do, if you've reached Act 3, you'll notice that you'll be spawning in the Citadel, and you're going to have to now figure out what to do. The game is going to be a bit different. You're going to notice that a lot of enemies are going to be kind of corrupted, where they're going to be a lot harder to kill. They're going to have new attacks, so watch out for that. You're going to have to make your way down the Citadel, and you're going to eventually obviously make your way to the fast travel station. However, when you get there, you're going to notice that your Bull Beast is going to be missing. Instead, what's going to spawn is going to be a Bull Eater, which is going to be like a boss fight. When you do end up defeating this boss, you will be getting your Bull Beast back, and she will actually have babies, which means that you are going to be able to use them to fast travel, which is actually very good, because whenever you use this ability, you're going to instantly be able to take yourself back to the last fast travel that you visited, which is very, very useful. Now, from this point onwards, you're going to make your way down to Moss Grotto. You're going to go find the shaman or the druids or whatever they're called. You are going to go speak to them. They're going to basically give you a bit of a scolding, since you have obviously kind of destroyed the world, and they're not too happy about it. However, you're going to try and undo the damage that's been done, and they're going to set you out on a bit of a quest where you are going to need to get a new ability, which is going to be kind of lost, and you're going to have to find it in a location called the Abyss, which is actually a place that you visited in the first Hollow Knight. Now, the Abyss can be quite tricky to get to. The way you're going to be able to get to the Abyss is you're going to have to make your way to the Deep Docks. Now, when you get to the Deep Docks, you're going to want to talk to the blacksmith, and they are going to redirect you and tell you to speak to their assistant. Now, you're going to need their assistant because you are going to essentially ride the lava channel down all the way to the very bottom of the map to the Abyss. Now, they are going to be there to kind of orchestrate this machine while you end up using it as traversal, but you're also going to need a simple key. Now, assuming you haven't used the simple key at this point, there should be two in the game. You are going to be able to utilize the simple key to unlock a door in Deep Docks. You're going to want to make your way down to Deep Docks, get to the door that you can only open with a key, and you're going to then make your way to the Bull Room, where there's going to be a giant bull that you are going to essentially ride through the lava channels all the way down to the Abyss. And that is going to then take you to a very dark, creepy area. You're going to make your way down here. It's pretty straightforward. There's not really that many paths. It's fairly linear for the most part. You're going to make your way through the Abyss, and when you do get to the end of this channel, you will notice there will be a new ability, and that is going to be the soaring ability, which is going to allow you to kind of just skyrocket your way straight up, and that's going to be able to unlock a whole bunch of new places on the map where you're going to be able to explore. So very valuable to get this one. Now, once you've got this, you're going to make your way out of the Abyss. You're going to have to use this new ability to make your way out of the Abyss and escape the lava, and then you're going to return back to the regular world, where you can then go back to the shaman or the druids and talk to them about your progress. They're then going to give you a new ability, which is going to allow you to access memories, and this is going to basically allow you to visit a bunch of bosses or enemies in the game, which you're essentially going to do to collect their hearts. And once you've collected all of them, you are then going to return back to these druids. However, to find these locations, the first one you're going to be able to find, there's no real particular order, so it depends on how you want to do it. One of the ones you're going to be able to obtain is going to be above the blasted sand in the Sands of Carrick. You're going to want to head all the way to the top left hand side of this part of the map, and there is going to be a pretty challenging arena section where you're going to have to go through waves and waves of enemies, and right at the top there is going to be a boss battle. Keep in mind, just make sure that when you do end up beating the first 3 levels, there is going to be kind of this cracked pillar where you can knock it down, which will open a shortcut, so that if you do end up dying after this stage, you will kind of have a checkpoint. Make sure you hit that, otherwise it's going to be very, very difficult, because you have to make yourself up through a 4th stage, and then there's going to be a boss right at the top. The boss isn't that difficult. However, the arena stages can be quite challenging, especially when you have to beat 4 of them in a row just before you can get to the boss. So make sure you get that checkpoint before you end up fighting that boss. Now, another one that you're going to be able to find is going to be in Far Fields. Now, you can make your way to Far Fields, and you're going to once again head all the way to the top of Far Fields, go to the top right hand section, where you will kind of find this house you can enter, and this is going to be where you're going to fight another boss fight. This one's going to be quite challenging, and this is going to award you with another one of these hearts. There are actually 4 of these hearts you can obtain. I think you only need 3 of them, so you don't need to get every single one of them, so you can, I think, skip one of them. However, I did all 4 of them just to be safe. The next next one you're going to be able to find is going to be in Shellwood. Now, this one's going to be a bit tricky to get to because you're going to have to go to the Citadel in order to get to this location. It's going to be kind of underneath the Grand Gate. So you're going to want to go to the Citadel, take your fast travel to the furthest bottom left-hand fast travel station at the Citadel, and then you're going to want to make your way down. It's going to be by the entrance of the Grand Gate, but instead of going left towards the Grand Gate, you're going to go right, and this is going to take you to a kind of like secret path, which is going to take you underneath the Grand Gate, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to fight two bosses. One is going to be Seth. That's going to be a pretty challenging boss. Pretty sad backstory to that one. After you beat Seth, you're going to go make your way down to fight the main boss here, and that is going to allow you to get the next piece of the puzzle. However, it's important to note when it comes to these boss fights, to access these boss fights, if you haven't figured out already, you get to hold the down button as well as triangle at the same time. This is how you access these boss fights because they aren't going to be there when you get there. You have to play the music, the ability the druids gave you in order to actually summon them and get to their area, since they are memory sequences to access. At this point, you should have enough to go back to the shamans in order to complete Act 3. However, there is going to be a secret one where you can actually end up doing a fourth one. I would actually recommend doing this one just because it's very cool. It's a very unique area of the map, and it's got some very cool backstory. It is going to be in a secret location map called Verdania, and this is going to be kind of like a lost city or a lost civilization, which is now long since past. To access this part of the map, you're going to want to make your way to Crawl Lake, which is going to be found at the far bottom right of Greymoor. You're going to go there, and you're going to continue to go right, and eventually you'll get to a location called Verdania, where you will have an NPC here, which will take you on a quest or memory sequence where you will go back to Verdania before it ends up falling, and you will then be able to explore Verdania, where you will be able to fight a boss, and this is going to allow you to get the last piece of the puzzle. Now, assuming you have all three or four, depending if you want to go through all of them, you're going to want to once again make your way back to Moss Grotto, go all the way down to Bonegrave, and make your way to the shaman. They're going to be sitting there, and they're going to then allow you to access your own memories, which is going to allow you to find this flower, this very, I don't exactly know the lore behind it, but this very powerful flower, which is going to protect you for the journey to come, and this is going to be accessed, and you're going to have to find it from your own memories. It's a very cool part of the game. Actually, one of my favorite parts of the game, actually, this memory sequence. You're going to then be able to obtain that flower. Once this is done, you're going to then be able to complete the Act 3, and this is going to then be accessible once again through Deep Docks. You're going to once again be able to ride the bell back down to the Abyss. The blacksmith assistant will still be sitting at the control room, so you can speak to them, and this will allow you then to ride the bell all the way back down, and this will take you back to the Abyss, which will allow you to go back down to the final boss of the game. This is going to be now accessible since you now do have the flower. You are going to be able to go through the black liquid without taking damage, and you're going to be able to travel even further down through a ocean of this black substance, which is now going to be safe thanks to the flower, where you can fight the final boss and unlock the true ending. However, there is an additional step and an extra piece of the puzzle if you want to find the super secret final ending, where you will have basically an additional extended cutscene, which will show you something very interesting. I won't spoil too much other than it's going to show you potentially what might be to come in the future. However, to access that, you're going to have to do another quest line, which is a whole other story. So if you want to figure out how to do that one, let's discuss how you can do that one. First, you're going to need to pick up the quest, The Passing of the Age, and that is going to be able to be found in Putrefied Ducks. If you go all the way to the furthest bottom right-hand side of Putrefied Ducks, there will be a path there. You're going to have to use your sword ability to shoot your way up, and there is going to be kind of this weird monolith or statue where you can interact with, and it's going to give you this quest line. That starts the quest line. This quest line is going to be a bunch of riddles, and each riddle is going to take you to a different part of the map, so it's going to be quite a bit of a tricky one because you're going to have to go all over the map essentially. However, let's go through where each one is and discuss what you have to do. The first one you're going to be able to find is going to be found at Moss Grotto. There is going to basically be these two benches side by side. It's going to be in between the two benches. You're going to be able to find this mushroom. You can then speak to the mushroom. This is going to then complete the first step. The second step is going to take you to Bone Bottom. Just the bottom of Bone Bottom, just up to the right, you're going to see the second mushroom. You're going to speak to them again, and that's going to then complete the second step of this task. Then the next step is going to take you all the way back to Farfield. You're going to go basically towards the bottom right-hand side of Farfield. You will also be able to hear when the mushroom guy is close by. You will hear a very distinct audio cue when you are near him, so you'll know that you're getting close. So just head all the way to the bottom right of Farfield, and you will see him fairly close towards that bottom right-hand entrance there. Complete the third step of this wish. Now for the fourth step of this quest, you're going to want to go to Greymoor, and you're going to want to head all the way to the top left-hand side of Greymoor. This is going to be close to the entrance to Wisp Thicket, so you're going to want to go all the way to the top left-hand side of this. You should hear him quite clearly on the main path, so it shouldn't be too hard to find him here, and that is going to complete the fourth stage of this quest. Now to complete the fifth stage of this quest, you're going to want to go to the slab, and there's going to be basically a part where you're going to find a secret boss, which you're probably going to have found earlier in the game. This is going to be on the bottom right-hand side of the slab. There's going to be kind of like this almost web-looking spidery location, which you have probably fought the boss for, is going to be basically you're going to head on right after you fast travel. You're going to go all the way to the bottom right. You're going to then want to shoot your way up through this hidden pathway, and then you're going to want to make your way across and down, which is going to take you to this kind of boss arena, where assuming you fought this boss arena, you're just going to have to go talk to the mushroom guy. If you haven't, well, then you can fight the boss and get a cool new ability, so that's also going to be added bonus. But for this part, you're going to go down there, and that's going to complete the 5th part of this quest. Now, the next part of the quest is going to take you to the left-hand side, where you're going to go to Mount Faye, and Mount Faye is going to be also where you unlock the double jump ability, very valuable. And when you get to Mount Faye, you're going to want to go all the way to the top where you unlock the double jump ability. However, don't worry, it's not going to be as hard as the first time. Now that you do have the frost immunity, now that you can double jump, it's actually going to be very easy. You can actually skip a lot of this using the soar ability as well, so you can shoot your way all the way to the top almost. So don't worry too much about this stage, although it looks like you're going to have to do it all again. Don't worry, it's not that bad. However, there is one part that's going to be quite bad after this. Now, for the last stage of this, you're going to have to make your way all the way above the cradle, which is going to be essentially kind of where you fought the first final boss of the game, the final boss of Act 2. So you're going to want to have to go up there. Now, it is going to be a bit weird because certain locations have been walled off by like a cave-in. So you're going to have to be a bit creative here. Basically, the way you're going to want to get here is you're going to want to find the location Cogwork Core. This is essentially where you spawn at the beginning of Act 3. You're going to want to make your way up this pathway all the way up, and then you're going to kind of find your way this big open chamber. Make your way further up a bit to the right hand side of this chamber, and then you're going to want to head your way left and up again, which is going to take you to the cradle. Now, once you're at the cradle, there's going to be a very challenging part of the game. It's going to be probably one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult platforming stage of the game. So you're going to have to make your way all the way to the very top here. And this is going to be where you're going to be able to talk to the mushroom one last time. And this is also going to be where you're going to complete this quest line. Now, once you've completed this quest line, now you're finally ready to beat the final boss. And this is going to unlock you then the super secret final ending of the game. So just like before, you're going to want to go back down at this stage to the deep docks. You're going to want to go through the bulb, which is going to then take you through the lava down to the abyss. And then once you get to the abyss, you're going to go exactly where you went before, all the way to the very bottom, travel down to the final boss, beat the final boss just as the same as before. And this time your ending should be a little bit different. You will have a super secret final ending. I'm going to call it that. I don't know how else you want to describe it, but yeah, I'm going to let the ending play. If you haven't seen it already, I'm going to play the ending at the end of this video. Spoiler alert warning, obviously. So if you haven't done it yet and you want to see it for yourself firsthand, obviously don't watch this part. But if you do, I'm going to leave the video right now and you can see how it is there. Anyway, that is the ending. That is the final ending for Hollow Knight's Silksong, unless there is another secret final ending I don't know about, which there very well could be. Honestly, this game has a lot of secrets, so it wouldn't surprise me, but that is going to be the final ending that at least I have completed. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought about Hollow Knight Silksong if you made it to this part of the game, and I'd love to find out. I'll see you guys again next time. Take care, everyone, and bye-bye.